Jimmy Odom, national number 18. Todd and I have been talking and stuff, and back in my career when I used to go to Ascot every week, Friday, leaving Fremont, California, and driving to Gardena to race on Friday night, I got hooked up with some movie people that did stunt work, and the gentleman's name was Everett Creech. He worked for Fat Jack Productions, which was John Wayne stuff. Anyway, and I started doing a few commercials, like Suzuki commercials and Yamaha commercials and different things like that, and made a Little Foss and Big Halsey. I did all the stunt work and all that, and with Lauren Hutton and Michael J. Pollard and Robert Redford, we did a movie called Little Foss and Big Halsey about motorcycle racing. And then on Any Sunday, I was one of the major film guys on Any Sunday with Bruce Brown. And then every week on going down to Ascot, I got hired by Columbia Studios and stuff to do, what was it called back then, FBI and Mod Squad. So I was going down and doing stunts for those guys. I knew a bunch of the guys and got to meet them. A lot of the movie people came to Ascot to watch races at Gardena. So that was another part of my career in the motorcycle business. Right. So my second family, the motorcycle family, is huge. It's great. This is an unbelievable sport that a lot of people don't get introduced to. But once they do, I think they're hooked. Same thing, like I said earlier to you, that I got to go to Bonneville Salt Flats and do a land speed record on a motorcycle, but it's called a special constructed streamliner. But we were there when they were filming the World's Fastest Indian and stuff. So I got to meet Anthony Hopkins. I got to meet the gentleman that had the record and for that Indian movie. So that was some other stuff in my life that I've got to be involved in just because of my motorcycle career. So it's been great. I mean, even in the car thing, I got to meet a lot of car racer people, USAC, NASCAR people back in the day, because we used to go to Daytona and we'd be there for practice between the Daytona 500 and the AMA 200 National for the road race. So it was right after that. So we'd get down there and kind of cavort with those guys and hang out and got to meet them.
But you raced the Daytona too, didn't you?
Oh, yeah. I raced the Daytona. I broke the junior track record on that Honda I talked about earlier with you, a 450. The first time that Honda ever attempted anything at Daytona was me as a junior and Sweet Savage as an expert who was a car racer and stuff later on in life. But I got to ride that Honda and broke the racetrack record there by 12 miles an hour on that 450 Honda. So, I got to road race Laconia, Sears Point, all different racetracks back then when we had to do that to be number one. So you just didn't do dirt track racing, flat track racing like is going on here tonight. You got to do all styles of racing.
Right. Now, do you still ride?
Oh, yeah. A lot in the mountains and stuff. I've never been a street bike guy because I don't trust car people driving on the highways. But no, I just never got into having a street bike and all that. I tried adventure riding in my elder time here, and I like it, but there's too much street riding for me. Yeah, I would still go in the dirt. So I go to Nevada and ride in Nevada on what they call BLM land, a lot of Indian reservations and stuff like that. California's gotten a lot tighter, places to ride. But no, I still ride.
Excellent. What do you ride?
Right now I have a KTM, lightweight two-stroke with electric start naturally, and I got a little Honda 230 that I play ride with because it's got electric start, but I got it all pumped up, and we do a little old guy practice fool around short track stuff and just hang in there.
Excellent. So, do you have family that you ride as well?
I have two sons. They both ride motorcycles, not professionally or anything like that. Not even, they just ride for fun and pleasure and all that. My oldest son he rides adventure bikes. He's the one that got me into it. So he still does that. My second son has two young boys. And we're into the baseball thing with them, just like my second son was. So we do a lot of baseball stuff. But I have a racetrack on my property and stuff with my grandsons, and we got all the motorcycles there. So we play ride there, and then I take them every once in a while. They'll go with me to Nevada. I mainly go with some older gentlemen like myself, and we all ride and have fun, pleasure riding and stuff like
Excellent. What are you doing here tonight?
I'm here tonight to help out Mike Hardy with the race here at Cycleland, and I'm going to I got the honor of starting the Legends main event. Like I told you before, I've done a lot of traveling. I was in Iceland last year, and I went to the adventure bike guy to just get some shirts for my son and myself. And the guy actually used to see me race at Ascot. He was a California guy and all that. So it's like, here we had a guy in Iceland. I wasn't expecting to see anybody or anybody know who I was. But after I told him my name, he goes, man, I went and watched you at Ascot. So, that's the coolest part about my career, meeting people and seeing people that actually, I had some recognition.
Now, do you go to any other races, or is just?
I try to go to anything that's happening here in California. Lodi's happening tonight. I would have been there. This there was supposed to be a national tomorrow at the Silver Dollar in Chico, but it got canceled because of the rainstorm that's coming, and they're rescheduled for 2 weeks, the 18th. So they're going to be back up here for the 18th, and I'll probably come back up. It sounds like it. The promoter wanted me to come and make presents. It's like to support these guys. That's what I'm doing, and I had a lot of support as well. And so that's the coolest part about it.
Excellent, excellent. Do you have your old bikes that you used to race?
That bike that I brought here and put on display today was a bike that was built in 1969.
Okay.
And it disappeared. And all this.
Tell us that story.
I found that an ad came up on Facebook ad on flattrack.com. And the guy said he had Jimmy Odom short tracker for sale for $15,000. So I anonymously got on the phone and called this guy. I didn't tell him who I was. And so I talked to him for a while. And I said, so how can you tell me that the authenticity of this motorcycle belonged to Jimmy Odom? And he goes, oh, me and my brother used to go to sneak into Ascot and watch him race, and he was kind of our hero, And I go, wow, that's pretty cool. And he said, my brother wanted to be a road racer. And so this guy named Al Godin, who used to work at Yamaha, when I raced for Yamaha, I knew. And he's the one that borrowed the bike from my guy that was helping me was A&A Motors in Redwood City, Ray Abrams, who's renowned in the racing, making race parts and all that kind of stuff and supporting the industry. Anyway, loaned him the motorcycle. And then the guy passed away. So we didn't know what happened to the motorcycle. But it was years later. But we found out that there was a rumor that it got stolen. But it didn't get stolen. He sold it and put the money in his pocket, which is whatever, it happens. So anyway, when I told the guy, finally, I said, well, if that's the only way that you're going to tell me the authenticity, I said, I can tell you the real way. And he said, how's that? I said, have you taken the engine apart? And he goes, no. He said, I've touched it. It's in the frame and all that. The only thing I did was put some brakes on it and rewrote it for a little while. And I said, oh. I said, so I'm Jimmy Odom. And it was silent for a little while. And then he said, can you hang on? I'm going to go look. Because you told me that you punched the motor number in the bottom of the cases and JO18 on it. And I said, yeah, I did that. So he goes there and he looks and he comes back and he goes, it's yours. It's really yours. I said, so really and truthfully, you were trying to sell it under the assumption that it was mine because you got it from Al Godin. He goes, yeah. And I said, well, that's cool. I said, so I would like to have it from one of my grandsons to put in my stable that I have a few different motorcycles. I have one of my Harleys when I rode for the factory is in the AMA museum, the American Motorcycle Museum. It's there. And then I have another Boltaco that I won Houston Astrodome on is down at the Dan Ruitt Museum in Clovis. It's a flat track museum, which is really a nice museum. If you get a chance, you need to go down there. Anyway, and it's there. And then my youngest son has one of my 750 Yamahas that he turned into what they call a dirt tracker. So it looks like a race bike, but it's got lights on it and stuff. And I said, yeah, you can do whatever you want with it. And then now I have this one that I got back that I'm going to will to my second grandson, because my first grandson has a Suzuki that I rode in short track when I was in Knob. So I got a few bikes and stuff like that, and a stable full of junk. But I have some stuff. So
Very cool. Is there anybody you want to thank?
Just the motorcycle industry and people, and then Mike Hardy for inviting me up here, and all the fans that come up to watch the races and stuff like that. My wife, initially she's not here, but all the years of support and stuff like that she's given me to be able to come to events like this and hang out.
Very cool.
Today's video is brought to you by California Property Investment Group, your one-stop shop in real estate.
Not even close to the end, it's just beginning. Life is getting lighter while the days are getting brighter, yeah.
And you've been married for how long?
51 years to the same lady, and I
51
married.
years.
I married a kid that I sponsored, his sister. I came home from back east one time, and Ray Abrams even told me, he goes, "Hey, you got to come and watch this kid race. His name is Bruce Hanlon. You got to watch him. He's really good." So I went to a little track in El Viso, California, and saw this kid race, and I went over to him and I said, "Hey, I want you to start riding my 250. You can ride my Yamaha." And I was putting on races on Wednesday night at Fremont Speedway, Raceway. And I said, "So from now on, you can ride my bike. Ray's good with it and all that." I said, "But the only deal is you got to introduce me to your sister." But anyway, it was part of the plan. But anyway, it worked out for the best. We fell in love, and I married her, and she's been there with me ever since.
And how many siblings do you have?
2. I have 2 sons.
And do they have families?
Jamie, the oldest one, is married and has just a wife, no kids and stuff like that. He's a world traveler. He works for the federal government, and he works in the defense program on warehousing and stuff. And she works at Livermore Lab. So they got a good career, but no kids. And then my younger son lives on my ranch and stuff. We're in Tracy, California, and he works for Department of Water Resources here in California, the California Aqueduct and the pumping plant and stuff. And he has 2 boys, and we do a lot with them. They live on the ranch. We ride motorcycles there. I got a little racetrack and stuff, and they ride around, and we got horses, we got chickens, we got all that kind of stuff. So they got a life like I had growing up, but I was a motorcycle guy back then. My dad was just a steel worker, but now it's a good life. And I got a great grandson, and the oldest one's only 9 years old, but he's a hell of a baseball player, and that's where we're looking for him to go, because he's following. My second son had a scholarship for baseball, and so anyway. But no, great life. Everybody's well, and we're doing great.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
How'd you get into racing?
Racing, and my dad.
How'd you get into riding, period?
Okay, well, my brother rode a motorcycle, right? But he had a little Tiger Cub and all that kind of stuff. And my dad used to take me to the Hayward racetrack in Hayward, California. And I even got to go when I was even younger, which I didn't even know anything about it, to Belmont back in the day when Belmont was there. And I used to go to Hayward and just tell my dad at 7 and 8 years old, I really want to ride one of them motorcycles. And my mom said, "No, you're not going to get a motorcycle." So I got a paper route when I was 10. And I got 2 paper routes, actually. I had a morning route and an afternoon route. And I saved all my money. I was making a big, like $7, $11 a month doing a paper route, but I saved every penny of it. And when the Honda 90s came out, after they made Honda 50s back in 1963 or 62, I had enough money to $275 was enough to go down and buy a Honda 90. Wow. So my mom and dad, I told my dad, and my dad knew what I wanted to do, but my mom, I told her, I'm just going to use it for my morning paper route, and not in the afternoon, because in the morning I can ride it on the street, nobody's going to get us, Well, as soon as I could, I tore that thing apart and started riding in the dirt. And then Fremont racetrack back then, it was Niles Centerville, it wasn't Fremont, but they had a racetrack called Fremont Drag Strip, and they built a scrambles track out there. And I told my dad, I used to ride in Niles Canyon Creek all the time with some professional riders, like Dave Bostrom was before me. Dick Dorstein used to come. I used to watch these guys ride, because there was some friends in Niles, California, that raced motorcycles. And back then, they raced at Hayward. It was all pro racing, not too much scrambles. Yeah, and you had to be 18. So it was in the early 60s. And I'd just go to Hayward and hang on the fence and go, man, one day I'm going to do this. So I used to ride down at the creek and all this on my Honda after my paper route and stuff. And a guy that owned a Suzuki shop in Hayward saw I was down at the creek riding, and he saw me and he goes, "Hey, do you race?" And I go, "Nope." He goes, "You want to?" And I go, "Well, I'd love to, but I got to ask my mom and dad. That'd be cool." And I was just 14 going to be 15. So you had to be 14 back then to even ride scrambles. And my dad took me to the race. I rode this guy's bike first time out, and I won a race at Fremont. First time on a motorcycle.
Wow.
Really, I mean, a race bike.
Yeah.
Stuff,
Very cool.
It all started after that. Just kept going on and on and on. And I was good enough in ability. And my dad would take me every time I needed to go. He had fortunately enough, and he had a good job, and he got off at 2:00 in the afternoon, and I'd get home from school and do my homework and then do my paper route, and then he would take me down to the racetrack or down to the creek and let me practice, and I rode every day as much as I could. And in fact, when I was riding scrambles, and then when I turned 18, I was like number one rider in scrambles around here, and I said, I'm going race motorcycles. And as a novice, I traveled all by myself, went back east and rode, and I went to Oregon a lot. And I only had like 3.5 months of dirt track racing because everything starts slowing down in October, and my birthday was in June, and I got enough points and wins and stuff to become the Rookie of the Year as my first year as an expert. I mean, or a professional rider.
Wow.
So it was really crazy. It's because I started going to Ascot, and the first time down there, I won a race right off the get-go. And even Agajanian, the promoter, J.C. Agajanian, came over to me the second week I was there, and he goes, I know you're living up north. The announcer was Roxy Rockwood, and he said, Roxy told me you're up north. He says, I'll give you $20 a week for gas to show up down here. And I said, I'll be here. I could only win like $16 and $19 for a main event, but he was giving me 20, so I was $40 ahead right off the get-go. So anyway, that's kind of a start of my career.
And then you started racing more and more, and you started winning, and then you started picking up sponsorships.
Yeah,
and
I had sponsorships even as a novice. I had a company like Webco. It's an old school name, but he saw me race at Ascot. His name was Tom Heiniger. In fact, God rest his soul, his celebration of life is today, believe it or not. But anyway,
May 3rd.
May 3rd. He was 93 years old. He's a great man. And say if Jeff Heiniger can see this, Jeff, I'm sorry I couldn't make it, but this obligation was here before I heard about your dad. Anyway, it was right when I'm a novice, and then my first year as a junior. Just like I said, I was riding for a guy named Cycle Imports in San Jose, and I was riding anything he had. So we went from lightweight bikes to big bikes, 650 Triumphs and 500 Triumphs, rigid frame, short or flat track bikes, and right off the get-go, I started winning races, Ascot, and every place I was going, San Jose, and all these short tracks and stuff like that on his equipment. And a guy named Gary Bryson was the Triumph motorcycle rep, and he goes, Jimmy, I think I can get some help from Johnson Motors for you. So I started getting help as a junior from them, and wound up I won 7 national championships out of its 14 race series. I won 7 of the races, national championships, as a junior, and like I told you earlier, I got a national number, which was hard to get. Has no letter on it. So, as a first-year expert, as a Rookie of the Year. So again, I was another Rookie of the Year for when I got that ride. So I rode for Triumph for about 3.5 years and stuff, and kind of stuck it out with them between them. Triumph Dirt Track Racing and all that TT racing and stuff, and then I got a Suzuki ride for the road races with a gentleman named Art Bauman and Ron Grant, which were both racers and stuff. And because I rode Suzukis in short track for less in one Santa Fe National on a Suzuki as a junior, and first time any kind of off-brand won a race at Santa Fe. And they was usually a Tiger Cub or a Harley Davidson won Santa Fe. Anyway, got a full ride sponsorship with them and Triumph, and had everything then. And then me and my dad decided to, I talked to Harley Davidson. They were very close with me and stuff like that. I won some junior races on a Portland Mile on a Harley when I was actually sponsored by Triumph. But I rode it, my Triumphs blew up, and I went and talked to both the bosses and asked them if I could ride this. Freddie Nix actually was a famous dirt track guy, and he was a very close friend of mine. And back then, and he let me ride one of his bikes, and I won the race at Portland on that bike. In fact, I do have another career thing. I won more national championships and more on different brands than anybody else, because I won on Nortons, I won on Triumphs, I won on Yamahas, I won on Harleys, I won on Suzuki's and stuff like that. So different brands.
Thank you very much.
Okay,
it was
thank
a
you.
pleasure speaking with you.
All right.
And it was a pleasure to meet you.
So great to have you out here, Todd. It's awesome.
Thank you. Thank you.